technical difficulties. The goal of this particular platform, and I've talked to some of y'all about this some time back, is to bring some attention or to shine some light on the inability or the attempt of ability of bringing the black male and black female thoughts and questions to the table. Just kind of bringing it into the spotlight, of course, with the intent, to somewhat develop a comprehensive knowledge on the reasons behind some of the challenges, that we have when it comes to relationships with one another. And
hello, my name is Nene Jackson. I'm a transformation coach. And what that is bring you into alignment with your mind, body, and spirit. Like Lorenzo was saying, depression, anxiety, and all these things can put our body in a survival state to the point to where it starts shutting down. You get diseases and things like that. And so what I do is try to help people bring their mind, body, and spirit into alignment, get more healthy, start working on the victim mindset of your mind to try to release it and use those things as motivators or as stepping stones to get to where you want to go. We have overcame so many things in life, and if we learn how to utilize them, I think it will help reduce a lot of that anxiety, that depression, and things like that. Because if we get active and moving, aligning our thoughts, our mind, and our mind, our body, and our spirit with one, we can accomplish things better. And so what made me decide to become a transformational coach is because I had to transform my own life. I was 243 pounds. The doctors couldn't help me with my digestive issues. They only prescribed me the medicine with the least side effect. After going through that and I wanted to take medicine, I had to sit and try to figure out what was going on with my body. So I took it back to my creator, God. I call him Jesus.
This conversation is you see this big debate on where are all the good men at? Where are all the good women? Is there any good men out there? Do good women really exist? There are no good women. And then to be specific, sometimes we even go so far as to say we're the good black men or we're the good black women, right? So, it's like we have grown accustomed to having this habit of right out of the conversation, straight out of the gate, is we immediately start to insult or degrade one another. Like when I sit and say, where all the good women at, I'm indirectly saying that there are no good women, when we all know that that's not true. Or when you hear women say all the good men, when it's not true, when you sit there and say or indirectly say that good men don't exist because they're around us, like every day, right? I
think when that statement is made, I think a lot of people personalize it. But I know from my perspective, when I ask where are the good black men, or, is there any good men around, it's just simply probably the environment that I'm in, I'm not coming in contact with those people. So when a person like me say, where are the good men at, I want to know, where do I need to go out to eat at? Where do I need to go shopping at? Where do I need to do to get in the environment of the right ones? Because I keep on attracting the wrong ones. And then like to go back on when you said that when you have a friendship, it seems like you're more open and you're more transparent with yourself. But then when you try to form a relationship, you keep some of those vulnerable areas a secret and you don't fully open up. And then you and your mate get into it just simply because they may end up touching or agitating something that was there that was never brought up because you did not feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable to tell them about it. But with a friend, it's like you feel like a no judgment zone. You can talk to them about everything, your fears, what you don't like, what you dislike, and talk about everything, so it's kind of different.
Here in a minute. So when when we're talking about having like a relationship, right? And we get to know each other. A lot of times we don't talk about the injuries that we have.
Right.
We don't present that, because right at that time we're trying to present the best image of ourselves. So we don't talk about the things that have caused us pain or have caused us injury, right? So I want you to think of it like this. As a man, right? If I don't know where your injuries are, if I don't know where they are, you don't tell me where they are. And I know we just met, so you're probably not going to reveal those things to me. When somebody is injured, or let's say, for example, or hypothetically, you fractured your forearm or something, right? And I come close to you and I try to grab your hand, or I try to touch you, or I rub up against you and I rub up against that fractured forearm. What is your response going to be?
Actually, pull away.
You're going to pull away, right? You're probably going to respond you're going to respond in pain, which is a natural response. So when we're dealing with a culture of people who have injuries that weren't or haven't been addressed, you have a culture of people who are walking around with untreated injuries. So when they come in contact with other people, and those other people don't know that you've been injured, and they bump up against or rub up against through words or through actions or things that they do, they may cause you pain by rubbing up against an injury that they didn't realize that you have, and then you respond in the natural fashion. You cry out in pain. Now, how you cry out, how a person cries out may vary from person to person. But because I rubbed up against an injury that I didn't realize that you had, you're going to respond in pain, right? So, and I want you guys to hear this. So when you ask the question, right, where are all the good men, or where are the good women, and all this different things, right? So let me read you something. This is from the Mayo Clinic. I like to get a lot of my training and information from like the Mayo Clinic, because they're very accredited in the things that they teach and the information that they put out there. So we're going to talk about depression. Depression is probably going to be one of the key components that's going to come up in the conversations that you and I have. We're going to do this for a couple of weeks until we figure out how not to have technical difficulties in the beginning. So I want you guys to listen to depression. So when you ask the question, where are good men, where are the good women, let me tell you where they're at. They're depressed. Okay, they're depressed. So let's talk about depression. Let's look at depression. Let's see, although depression may occur only once during your life, people typically have multiple episodes. During these episodes, symptoms occur most often the day, nearly every day, and they may include, let's go down the list and let me know, or you ain't got to raise your hand, but I want you to reflect on yourself and ask yourself, does this sound like you, or any of these things sound like you? All right, let's look at some of the symptoms of depression. Feeling of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness, or hopelessness. Angry outbursts, irritability, or frustrations, even over small matters. Loss of interest or pleasure in most or normal activities such as sex, hobbies, or sports. I'm going to highlight that sex part. We're going to come back to that part. Now, also, sleep disturbances, including insomnia or sleeping too much. Tiredness or lack of energy, so even small tasks take extra effort. Reduced appetite, weight loss, or increased craving for food or weight gain. Anxiety, agitation, or restlessness. slow thinking, speaking, or body movements, feelings of worthlessness, guilt, fixating on past failures, or self-blame, trouble thinking, concentrating, making decisions, and remembering things, frequent or recurrent thoughts of death, suicide, suicidal thoughts, suicide attempts, or suicide, unexplained physical problems such as back pain and headaches. Okay, so I'm willing to guarantee you that you and I, or anybody else that's listening to this conversation, has suffered from at least two or more of those things.
I agree.
Been accused of two or more of those things. Now, this is depression that we're talking about. So we can't sit here and say that depression is not real, because we have people that have been diagnosed with it. In fact, some of us know that we're depressed. We know that we're living with depression. So when we sit,
and I'm happy that you do have this platform for us to get on here and talk about it, because sometimes the reason why I feel that I have went through some of those phases that you listed off was simply because I felt hopeless, because I did not know how to get out of this situation, or I did not know how to do this, that, and the third, and I did not have any resources to pull on to help me understand or get it done. And so if we build a platform to where we share information and where people don't feel alone, I think it can help in that. May not take it all away, but I think it would probably help with those suicidal thoughts of feeling hopeless, because it's a community out there that feel like they are dealing with the same things that you are in some way or another, and can share ways of saying, okay, well, hey, this is what I did to get out of this situation, or this is how I'm learning how to do it. Like this conversation right here, instead of having this mindset that is no good men and women, okay, well, we all are a work in progress. Okay, so how can we communicate and talk to each other to the point to where, the depressed people, the good men and women that are depressed, can come together. You see what I'm saying? Because if they're just depressed in their own little world, then how could you ever release that hopelessness? I know with me, some of my hopelessness come because I don't feel like I have support, or I feel like I'm alone, or things like that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. So while you're doing that, I want to ask a question. So do you think that the reason why a lot of people go through depression and things like that is because they're stuck in their head? They're not opening up to, or they're not being vulnerable enough to talk to the people around them to try to get that support system to where they feel. What do you think the reason why we choose to stay in these depressed states instead of being vulnerable enough to open up to receive what we need? Because a closed mouth don't get fed is something that we've been saying for years.
Well, look, now I'm going to tell you this. Mm-hmm. First of all, I mean, women, since you've probably been able to walk, have been taught to be vulnerable. It's what you've been taught. I mean, it's almost in a woman's nature to be vulnerable and transparent. So what you're going to find, you'll hear a lot of times in conversations, in comments, that a woman wants a man to be transparent. You want a man to be a little bit more vulnerable. It's almost like taking someone who speaks Mandarin and putting them in a room with somebody that speaks Swahili and then telling them to explain how they feel to one another. And what I mean by that is that men, in many cases, have not been taught the language of vulnerability. Men have not, in many cases, been taught the language of transparency. We live in a society that has already put a definition of what being a man is, or what manhood is. They've already put it out there. So you find a lot of men trying to meet the credentials of what has been put out there for us. Like the crazy thing about it is, for us, for black men, a lot of who we see putting the standards out there of what being a man is or being a good man is are women.
But you say show what you need, then action is all that's there. All action is all that left. So if we remove the lip service of, well, I want my man to do this, I need a man to do that, or I need a woman to do this and I need a woman to do that, if we just show our whole intention, show our mind to the point to where I can quiet your spirit about whatever questions you may have about me through the servitude that I'm showing towards you, and the same thing vice versa. Because if you ask a person, okay, so what you looking for in a woman, in a man or whatever, or they ask a man, what are you looking for in a woman? We're going to say what we're looking for because of what we have experienced throughout life, what we know we don't want to experience anymore. So we say, this is what I'm looking for, because I don't want to experience X, Y, and Z no more. It's not so much to say this is what a man is, this is what a man is not, but this is what I can't deal with in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? So I need my man to come in this form for me. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, it's whatever role that needs to be fulfilled at the moment, and I show up to the occasion to fulfill it. That way I can depend on you, and I know that you got my back in those trying areas. And the same thing for man and woman, vice versa. But if we stop listening to all the, okay, well, you need to do this and you need, what can you present to me as a man to show me that, okay, this is a safe place or a comfortable place I can be a woman and be vulnerable? Like you said, from the time we was little, women was taught to be vulnerable. But then over the course of time,
going back to something that you said, so I totally understand what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying. But this is why having these conversations are important. And for those of you who have tuned in, hey, Miss Edwards, I'm glad to see you. Uncle, I'm glad to see you in. Ford, I'm glad to see you in, sir. But when we start to see things like how you said, you didn't say it specifically this way, but you said role reversal, where you said that men tend to see women acting like men, right? And I totally understand, because one of the things as men that we don't realize is when you put somebody in a position to take on your role, it becomes a habit, and that becomes your expectation. You know, it becomes your habit is taking on the role that the man who should have been in your life or still been in your life was supposed to be doing. So we have a lot of women who have taken on this role, because I talked about this in the past, in past conversations, is the damage of role reversal. And when I say role reversal, meaning that you have a lot of men who have abandoned their role, so women have had to take on the role. So when men find these women that have taken on the role of a man, and probably some of them have done it for years at a time, I'm not even talking about like months, but years at a time, we have become like overly sensitive toward that, and we become uncomfortable with it. But we haven't developed the maturity yet to kind of, I guess, to understand, okay, this person has taken on the role of a man for so long that she's developed a habit of doing that. And see, sometimes I don't think we understand that. Sometimes we have to understand this. You know, we talk about women putting up walls and things like that. Oh, you know, I can't. You always putting up a wall. Or even women. Sometimes you say men are putting up walls, but sometimes walls are put up so that a person can know how much you love them if you're willing to break that wall down, right? To kind of put it that way, sometimes if you care about a person enough, if they put up a wall and you care about them enough, you're willing to break that wall down. Sometimes I believe we get in our feelings so much that we give up too easy. You know, okay, the wall, some walls are too thick. You know, some walls are too high. I mean, we got to admit it. Some walls are too high, but some of those walls are thick. I mean, women, some of the walls are thick. But, you know, if you care about it, your determination and your willingness to break the wall down, and for those of you who are speakers and you understand what I'm saying here, and we may have heard this before, that sometimes the reward is on the other side of that wall. You see what I'm saying? Your reward is on the other side of fear. Sometimes your reward is on the other side of hard work. And sometimes breaking through those walls can be scary. Sometimes breaking through those walls can be hard work. So I totally understand what you're saying.
All those issues of breaking down this wall, breaking down that wall, and everything else, they actually like, you know what? I like this person. This person been showing me some good things. Let me open up a little bit. And they give that person little by little. That person ain't having to take a hammer and break down a brick wall if they feel you like that. I feel like if you got to break down a brick wall, that means you got to work yourself on that person to let them know that you for them. Why do we got to do that? Instead of you choose me, I choose you, and let's work it out together.
Why you make that sound? You try to make that sound so easy.
And I think, and I know, because in my mind, it's easy just like that, but it causes so many problems.
Okay. Like you said, in your mind, right? That's see, in your mind is great. You know, it's like, you know, in their mind, they think they can swim. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, it's in their mind, you know. In my mind, I think I can play 10 games of basketball when I know I'm probably, in real life, I'm really only good for maybe 2 runs. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is this. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I would love to see it that easy, though. I think.
But why can't we make it that easy? If everything just take an action,
we can make it that easy. I personally, I don't think there's nothing that we can't do.
Right.
Are you willing to do that, though? See, for you to be willing to open a door for me, or to let me over the wall or around the wall or under the wall or however, I have to bring something. I have to bring something to gain your trust or your confidence that I'm not going to violate your space when you let me into that wall or around that wall. See, some of us, when we have these conversations about being able to get along with each other, like I said, whether it be in a friendship or whether it be in an intimate relationship, we have trust issues when it comes to each other. We have trust issues. And when I say we put up brick walls, these are those protective mechanisms that we were talking about earlier in the conversation, when we talked about some of the symptoms of depression. When you go through,
Point to where that's the reason why we're running into this brick wall, because you're trying to go straight in for the gusto. Hold on, bro, I don't know you. You know, you see what I'm saying? So I feel like that's when the brick wall come in, because if I just meet you today, I'm going to have regular conversation. We're going to be talking about, oh, yeah, I got this going on. I got this going on. You know, you just pretty much telling each other about each other. What brick wall will we hit?
How many people do that?
I know. That's the problem. That's the reason why we having this conversation, to help people realize, hey, you may be interested in somebody, but first have that conversation to see how y'all flow together before you try to do too much. Because you can be messing up something that can potentially be good, because you want to run into a brick wall instead of sitting up here knocking on the door, having a conversation at the door. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, let me ask you this then. Why do you think prospectively
Perspective speaking.
perspectively speaking,
Hmm.
why do you think we fail to approach it that way?
Because there's no genuine attraction that is being formed. You look at something, you instantly look at the package and be like, ooh, I can see myself smashing that. It ain't, I can see myself getting to know this person. It ain't, I can see myself anything for this person. It's just that person look like a potential smash. And so that's the reason why you hit that brick wall, because you're trying to go in for the gusto, knowing you don't got no intention to be nobody man, husband, play the male role in a life, nothing. You just trying to fake the phone just to get in. That's the reason why I don't think that people go to that, because all they're doing is trying to get to the point.
Who's they?
The men that us women talk about that ain't good
First
men.
of all, hold on. Why you let me around the brick wall then?
Uh,
Why you
no,
let me around the brick wall? Why
no,
you?
no. Most of the time, that man don't get past the brick wall, because 9 times out of 10, we cussing him out because he done already talked about sex and
Hold on.
everything else.
You said most of the time
Most of the time.
you don't make it around the brick wall.
Well, and I can speak for, I can't, let me speak for myself. Okay, let me speak for
Hold
myself.
on. Okay.
So for myself, in your 20s and 30s, that's when you sit and you give people the benefit of the doubt, to the point to where you like, okay, well, maybe he's good. Maybe he just got a little, yeah, he been hurt too, so he'll show me eventually. So we give him passes. That's how he got around that brick wall, because we seen potential in him. We done fantasize about what we want with this person, and we done built a whole fantasy story. So we let him around a brick wall because we see potential in him. When you get 42, 50, you don't got time for letting potentials around a brick wall. Come in with your intention. If you can't come in with your intention, then I guess our conversation on the phone gonna be very short. Or I guess, so it ain't no coming around a brick wall once you at that point to where you don't want to go through the madness. Show me your intentions. If I don't feel good intentions, it won't go no further. You know what I'm saying? But younger people, I can't speak for other people. I can just speak for me, perspectively speaking. Perspectively speaking, at the age of 42 and being through all the ups and downs that I've been through, the only brick wall you're going to get is a conversation. A conversation about what's next. We got to do a whole lot of something
Okay.
for me to be vulnerable to the point to where I'm actually looking for you to come into my life and, fulfill those areas. You see what I'm saying?
So okay. I totally see what you're saying. I totally see what you're saying. But the problem that I see though, and I'm speaking from my perspective, perspectively speaking.
Okay.
Okay. And this is what I see, and this is why you're being affected by this, and women like you.
Mhm.
And for those of you I don't know, you single, right? And everything, and so being single, especially even like with single men will even tell you this. I don't even know if my single men are in the feed yet. I don't even know if they ignoring my invite or what.
Can
And this
we
is
start a group for real singles wanting something to where
we
we?
gonna get to that. We gonna make it
Okay.
happen. This is so it's like when you have somebody that has your standards, right? They may have your standards, but single men will admit that, okay, well, if your brick wall is too thick or it's too high or I can't get around it, I'll just go next door to this other brick wall right here. You know what I'm
Bye
saying?
bye.
So
See
what
you
I'm
later.
how this hurts you and what it is that women like you are trying to push, which is a level of standards. It's like you have a level of standards that other women aren't willing to adhere by. So it's hard to enforce it as a collective.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? It's hard to enforce it. So what I'm saying is that to enforce something like that, which is not bad, it's just like I said. I'm saying it's hard to enforce when you live in a society that, you know, promiscuity is almost becoming a customary norm.
I
You know,
agree.
it's almost popular sometimes to even be a side chick. Like, you know, there's some people that's
I
cool
was
with it.
trying to figure out how to be a side chick. No, no, I wasn't.
I'm just like, I mean, I
I
guess
was
if you can
considering a
find,
poly relationship,
but
not
you
being a
know,
side chick. I was considering a poly relationship because I need everybody to know. Ain't nobody's secret.
right. Well, I guess I would have to speak to a side chick to kind of know what her views are or what the benefits are. I guess from what I heard, the benefits of a side chick to being a side chick or whatever is that you don't have to worry about the commitment of,
And the responsibilities of making him happy. That's his wife job.
so, you know,
Oh,
it's,
and that what's name. But for single people or people that's not in relationships, like you said, when they're depressed, they end up doing careless things to try to make them feel better. I know I was one of those. I didn't know that I dealt with depression, anxiety, or any of that until I had to go through a transformation for myself to figure out what was going on. But in my 20s and 30s, when I would go through what now I'm learning what they would call depression, I would have me a male friend or two to just release that energy. You know what I'm saying? Just so I can not feel so hopeless or not so alone and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So I think, but when I was married, because I was married twice, when I was married, yeah, you cheating and I keep on talking to you over and over again, now I'm feeling unworked, like I'm not enough or whatever the case may be, then yeah, I don't want you touching me. I don't want anything. My body won't even respond to you to where even if I do just open up and let you in, you're going to be like, dang, baby, your body ain't responding because, dude, you got me depressed. How about that? Get off of me. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the reason why I said in a relationship, because since I've been single or
but again, like with this particular conversation, which I want to try and have, and I want to try to have it out with you, just us two to start out, and I'm going to bring some people in later on so we can have this conversation amongst men and women because
right.
I think it needs to be had. I wanted to play around with it this time so we can become used to it, become accustomed to one another since you know we kind of just met, you know.
Right.
But we've had some long conversations together. But when you say things like that you dealt with it within a marriage, and then I hear you say that you're not married now, it brings up a question for me, and I'm pretty much sure people in the audience, because even with people that are listening in, and I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do a replay. I may do a replay of this, but with people in the audience and me, sometimes we want to know, okay, then what happened? How did that affect your marriage, or what? How did that reflect or affect your relationship to the point that you're not in a relationship anymore?
Because you had to get a divorce after so long of being depressed and you done talked about it, you done went to counseling, you did everything in your power to try to salvage your marriage, and this person just continued to do whatever because he chose not to let go of something that you may have said or done. And
Mm-hmm.
so it come to a point to where you have to save yourself instead of trying to save a marriage, especially if you are not having, like you said, that whole list of depression that you listed off. You know, you're not as excited to do things. You know, you isolate and all these things just because this person that you chose to be with keep on doing the same action over and over again. And no matter how vulnerable you be and say, why, what can I do to do better? Okay, that ain't working. You sit up here, you go to a counselor, you take it before God, you pray, you all that. You do as much as you can. Holy, bless oil all around the house, praying over your house to relieve any spirit out of your house. And it just keep going and going and going and going and going. And at the same time, not nobody in this world is ever worth you being depressed.
You
You
know,
should.
I
Mhm.
one bit. I'm looking at a good friend of
Hey,
mine,
thanks for joining.
Edward. Edwards.
Yeah,
Who is
it
that?
look extremely rough. I'm quarantining on COVID right now, but
It's okay, beautiful. Come through.
How you just jump? How you just jump? How you do that?
tell me that don't play.
How you hijack our conversation?
Man, you know this y'all on my topics now.
I
And you
know.
gotta teach us, because you see, we was having technical difficulties. If you was on at the beginning, you need to
I,
teach us, because we was having technical difficulties,
Oh
so we don't have
no.
that problem no
Just
more.
jumped on about 10 minutes ago. I was like, oh y'all into it now. Let me go.
yeah, I was just about to bring you up too, and here you are, poof, like an angel on my shoulder, like poof.
Oh, God bless you. God bless you.
So go ahead and bless us with your message.
What I was gonna say was this, like when the comment came up, what did you say? Sex as a drug, been there, you know, because I just went back to kind of look at the feed, and I agree that um, marriage and relationships don't heal depression. But what I'm saying, so to bring some clarity to what I'm saying is that I agree it doesn't heal
Hmm.
relationships and it
Hmm.
doesn't protect you. But the thing, the thing is there. I believe that there is somewhat of a protective boundary from certain things that may cause it. Hopefully, like with this particular conversation, like this particular platform that I'm trying to push is so that we could come together and figure out what things and what type of conversations and relationships we have to put in place to protect us from certain forms of depression. Because in my area of practice, whenever there's a problem or there's an issue that causes pain, in my practice as a practitioner, as a healthcare practitioner, is my number one is my first thing is to find out, number one, what caused the pain.
Right.
That's where the
Oops,
that's where
sorry, y'all.
the
I'm
takes
here.
place. Is what caused the pain? Because we have to address that too. Because once I address the pain that you're dealing with,
Hmm.
now we have to start talking about and having conversations about eliminating the thing that caused the pain.
Well,
So when
I think it's important to consider the fact and acknowledge the fact that the cause of depression is very multifaceted. So
it
you
is.
can't break it down to anything that's happening just right now. Um, depression in lots of cases is caused in large part, especially when we're talking about African Americans or people of African descent. We're talking about lots of layers of trauma. We're talking about complex PTSD, especially if you roll in some military service, you roll in some poverty, you roll in some negative upbringing habits and shaming and guilting and all these different.
Mhm.
It's so much more complex than just saying, well, you're just dealing with a little depression or you're upset or you're a little sad. It's so much deeper than that. And I think that the conversation has to begin there. So it's not as simple as, oh, well, we've been going through COVID and times are depressing and we seeing negative things on the news and money is short or we lost a baby or the car broke down or we're going to have to move and there's no stress. Any of those
Right.
individual things, none of those individual things by itself is responsible for depression.
Absolutely. So let me say
Exactly.
this. So we can kind of stay to keep us kind of on topic. We're gonna hold on to exactly what you just said because you're absolutely right. But does that necessarily mean that you cannot have I don't go into depth now. I want to ask this question, just answer it. Does that necessarily mean that you and I can't have a friendship and that you can't have a relationship, right? What?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
that couldn't be farther from what I'm saying.
So what my goal is with having these type of conversations
Hmm.
is for me to be your friend, right? Or to even be your man if that's something that happens in the future. We have to understand at some level, at some point, we have to have an understanding of what you just said, what you just put out there, because I can't be your friend and I can't be your man having no understanding of trauma that you may have been through or how depression may affect you and as well as me for us to be able to have an effective relationship. So these are things that I feel personally that we have to put on the table and have some level of understanding about it, and that it at least exists.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
I think it all came really to me.
You said, where in the does that mean that we're committed, right? Because see, even when I date, if I say, you know what, I'm interested in you, let's go out on a few dates and see how this works out. I already have it in my mind that the chances of me seeing you out on another date somewhere else with someone else is possible. That maybe somebody else might be taking you out because we're dating. There's really no commitment. I haven't committed to you. You haven't committed to me. But as a man, if I spend $70, $80 on this date, that date doesn't necessarily mean that I enjoyed you or I thought you was the one, right? But where does the anger and frustration comes if I don't call you the next day, or I don't text you the next morning, or maybe you might call and I say, well, I'm heading out with somebody. I might not even say I'm on a date, but I'm heading out with somebody, and you go, well, and you get the response, or a man get the response like, okay, well, with who? Going out with who? You know what I'm saying? It's like this concern that, okay, we went out on a date yesterday, like, what's up? Like, what do you mean? You couldn't return my text? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? We went out on a date, right? So is there a commitment?
I'm sorry. I was trying to restrain my laughter. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis. You go ahead and address that first. I don't
got nothing to say. It's no commitment, just like it ain't no for certain that a woman got to open up her legs just because you took her out on a date. I feel like that's why I said 20s and 30s. Probably in my 20s. Hold on, bro. Early 30s. I thought we kicked it. I thought you liked me because I was always that type of woman that if I'm entertaining you until I see that it ain't nothing with you. I don't talk to multiple people at once because I guarantee you I'm going to mix up their information. So I don't give my number out to people that we ain't doing business together or you a potential mate for me. So if me and you went out on a date and you took me out on a nice lavish night on the town, I may shoot you a text message, good morning, I really enjoyed myself, thank you, boo, but I'm leaving it up to you to show me if you want to continue this on. I'm not going to be on your phone like that because I got rejection issues. So I don't want you to have to tell me no. Your actions going to show me yes or no. So if you stay on my line, then guess what? You're showing me how comfortable I am to call you and reach out to you and ask you questions to where I can open up and be a little bit more vulnerable. If you take me out on a night on the town and I don't hear from you for 2-3 days, you can be on a date with somebody else. Who don't care is me. I don't care. As long as you with me, you give me the utmost respect to make me feel like you only focus on me at that point. I don't care what you do until you say, nay, nay, I want to make this exclusive, just me and you. Other than that, I ain't speaking on your life. I don't care. As long as you respect what you do with me and how you treat me. I don't expect you. I'm not going to say you my man or whatever just because of your actions. You have to tell me, nay, I choose you, baby girl. And I'll be like, I accept the invitation, daddy. Okay, where we go next?
Right. Early, you were running short on time, and I don't want to push you too late here.
Okay.
So one, I think it's important that you ask yourself, how is your conversation going pre-date? Because it sounds like there's an issue with establishing expectations. It sounds like, if that's something that you see consistently, I'm a fan of paying attention to patterns, right? And the most important pattern to me is the patterns that take place in my life. So if I'm seeing a certain pattern repeat itself, the first thing I do now, not that I was always this way, but the first thing I do now is I evaluate and introspect myself. I say, what am I doing to contribute to repeating this pattern? So if it's me, okay, so I can't say that I've had that type of dynamic in a relationship, so I'm just going to kind of try to tap into what you're experiencing because I want to stay on that topic. But if you're finding that women are expecting you to be committed to them after you spend some money on them, there's something that you're saying that's communicating to them that you like
You
to
want
spend
more.
money on your woman, on your woman. So when you do spend money, they feel like, oh, he spent money on me, so I must be his woman. Now that's just one piece.
Another.
But the next piece is, what are they saying they're expecting from you? And are you hearing that, or are you more concerned with making sure that they hear you? Because communication is a two-way street. You
Mhm.
can't just be speaking and hoping and expecting them to hear you, but not be listening for understanding. You have to be doing active listening, not just waiting on your turn to speak and hoping that she'll agree to going out with you, because going out with you is not the goal. You taking her out should not be the goal. Now, if you just taking out a pretty lady for a nice night and spending some money and being seen in public with a good looking woman and thinking that you're getting closer to getting some, if that's the goal, then you're on track. If the
Okay.
goal is you building a relationship with someone who respects and admires you, because that's how love shows up for men, when you feel respected, as in she's not mouthing off at you back and forth with you all the time, and she admires you. So if she's standing across the room and you over there with five different dudes and she's looking at you like, look at my man, or that's gonna be my man, girl. If you don't get that vibe where she respects and admires you, then you're not on the right track. You out with somebody that went out for a nice meal, and she might give you some, but they got nothing to do with respect or admiration, because women sell sex every day.
I totally agree. Hey,
That's
you're
my take.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I totally agree with communicating from the beginning. I,
Mhm.
I usually put out there, but
I'd rather disagree with you a couple of times so I know how you really think. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to start an argument with you, because I'm
I,
not. I don't want to argue, but, if what you're looking for and what I'm looking for doesn't line up at the same time, because we could want the same things, just right now I'm not in the mood for it because I'm focused. Or
uh,
right now I can't handle that because I'm getting over a painful breakup, or because my heart is really hung up with somebody else and there's no room there for you. You could be a perfect guy, but the timing not be right. It's a lot of moving pieces. So to try to break it down to, well, I did this and she did that, well, then I guess I must be wrong because it keeps happening to me. No, it could mean that you're attracted to the same type of woman, which is not a good fit for you.
mhm.
Maybe your approach, it may be what you're saying you want. Maybe you're giving away too much. Maybe you're leading with your wallet. It could be a lot of things.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna kind of I'm gonna let you introduce yourself before we leave, because you're one of my favorite people. I'm like,
Oh,
you're
appreciate
like that. Honestly, I probably got maybe five powerful women that I go into their feed and just read stuff. I'm like, okay, let me see what they're saying. And sometimes, like, you know me, sometimes I'll say some stuff that probably just totally disagree against what you just said, or just to see how you
But I
respond.
respect you for that. But I respect you.
Right. And like I said, I keep it real with a lot of your stuff, because you say you put out very beneficial content. And you know what I'm saying? So, and that's what I like. I like to go on my page and see stuff that's beneficial, that,
Thank you.
you throw little nuggets out there for folks. But, like I said, I totally agree with what you just said, man. I would love, like, the next time we go back on, I might hit you up to bring you back in for it. Like I said, this first time, there were a couple things that I didn't touch on, but I wanted us to get on and kind of have some conversation, because I want to be able to put together some content where we can come on like this and just have open, honest dialogue. Because sometimes, like, if you go on a lot of different platforms, nobody says the challenging stuff,
Right.
the hard stuff, the stuff that's embarrassing
Well, people
sometimes.
people like to be applauded, and I mean, when you think of it from a place of empathy, everybody to some degree is looking for acceptance.
Right.
And when we really heal and we get to a point where we're self-validated, we're self-actualized, and look, when you get self-entertained, that's a whole nother level. Like when you don't even need likes, and you don't need nobody to clap for you. Like, so
Yeah, you right.
they
You right
agreeing with
though.
me, girl. High five.
You right. You right. But yeah, we definitely gonna do this again. But like I said, before I close out, Miss Edwards, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let people know who you are.
I'm saying Edwards, also known as the Godmother. Um,
Okay, godmother.
I'm a I'm a marketing strategist and certified relationship coach. I'm known for dropping real and raw truths for success in business, life, and love. I used to do a lot in the way of just doing a lot more of the relationship coaching type stuff, and I had to take a little bit of a break and do some healing myself. I went through about 10 years where a really close friend of mine, he and I were like this, and I just knew that was going to be my husband, but I realized that he had a lot of healing to do, and I did too. So I had to give him his space to do his thing, and I've done my thing, and I'm grateful to be back, in a place where I feel um, centered enough to give um, advice to people without my own little agenda, because I'd be like, girl, you know, fuck a girl. That's why I
Right.
was at for a little minute, and I knew I couldn't be out like that because I didn't want to represent myself that way. Um, but healing is a real thing, and it can happen for anyone. But I think, not I think, I know, at the real core of great relationships is the relationship that you have with yourself. And far too often we don't spend any time on that. Not just not enough, but not any time on that, because lots of us are raised to believe that if you don't have a man or you don't have a woman in your life, that you're not complete. There's something wrong with you, especially for women when we get over 35. Lorenzo, I'm not a fan of Kevin Samuels. God rest his soul, God bless his family, and all of that stuff like that. But there's a lot of hurt people out here, and hurt people hurt people. If you don't heal, you can bleed all over somebody that didn't cut you. And I like to start thought-provoking conversations with people that lead to us being really introspective and being honest with ourselves. Even if you want to front for everybody on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and all the rest of them, when you get home by yourself in the quiet and in the dark, you got to deal with you.
Right.
So if you haven't put those insecurities and negative thought patterns and limiting beliefs that you have for yourself, if you haven't put those to rest, you're not in a position to be dating, because you're going to hurt somebody else, and then you're going to be hurt because it didn't work out. And all of those negative thought patterns that we've had conditioned into us in childhood, we find ways to continue to recreate those same negative patterns over and over again until we heal. So I'm a
Awesome.
huge advocate of healing.
Yes. Amen. Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate you jumping in on the
Yes,
feed.
we
I appreciate the
do.
opportunity, man. I was like, oh man, let me get
You
on here
popping
and
in
see
on
what
the
we
feed
talking about.
was a jewel. There was no way I would be like, "Hey, what the hell you doing?" You was a gift. So that you were more than welcome. But look,
What's your
Yep.
we
name, Queen? Tell me about
Nene
Miss
Jackson.
Perspective Speaking.
Nene Jackson, I'm a transformational coach. What I help do is bring your thoughts in alignment, your mind, body, and spirit into alignment. I was 243 pounds. I'm a consistent 170. I had digestive issues and knee problems. Doctors couldn't do nothing but offer me medicine with the least side effect or cortisone shots in my knees. So I took it back to the source, my creator, God. And he let me know I was a whole victim in a lot of areas. And I liked to control everything that came into my experience. And so after my transformation, I like to help people release the inner victim, whatever they put their mind to, get active to go towards it. So that is me, transformation, perspective speaking.
I
yes.
love it. I love it. I love it. And I really enjoyed your perspective today as well. And you too, Lorenzo. I appreciate every time I see you pop up on here, because I think it's so important.
Thank you.
I know the degree of bravery that it takes as a man to get on here and speak your truth, especially with some of us bold and assertive women who gonna put you in check when you're wrong.
But you know what though? This is what I tell people. Like I said, I'm gonna get out. I tell people this all the time. I said, I purposely go in on women's conversations on purpose, just to test my ability to survive in the conversation. I do this. It's like there's a couple platforms I always go in and watch, and I listen to it, and I purposely dive in just to see. And it's really, I wish I could see, because it's really funny. The silence. It's like they're already waiting for me to say something off key. They just waiting for me to say something off key. But then it's like there's this gradual but slow acceptance that I'll usually get. So I've made a lot of friends. Powerful female friends doing this. Where that I'm going to have come on and share their perspective and everything, and drop some nuggets into the conversations. Like that, you're one of those people, definitely, to come in and have this conversation. So
thank you. Well, you know what? I'm gonna make a bold prediction about your life. I don't fancy myself a prophetess or anything, but I've been told some things. But I'm gonna tell you something. I predict that when you have an awakening moment where you're able to release some of the things that you've been through, and you have the right woman step into your life and speak peace into your life, and you're not feeling the need to contend with or debate with her, it's gonna be people gonna be like, where did Lorenzo go? And then when you come back, they gonna be like, man, that man getting taken care of at home. Okay, everybody's gonna. So I'm gonna make that bold prediction. It's not gonna be long, because you've been on a path seeking. You've been seeking that understanding for a while. And I think that's right. Talking about pre-COVID, right?
We've been following each other for a minute.
Yeah, it's gonna go down. It's not gonna be long, but I will tell you, one of the things that I like to share with my brothers, I call what I do with my guys, I call it the playbook, relationship coaching for confident kings. But I think that you may have y'all, somebody working on the apartment next door, so y'all forgive the background noise. But when you really get committed to retaining the lesson and releasing the pain, you're gonna be a bad brother. You're gonna be a bad brother.
Invite me to the wedding. I want to be there cheering you down the aisle.
I'm working on it.
She gonna be like, who are all these women? We like, don't worry about us, girl. Enjoy your king, girl. Enjoy your king.
Right. We're gonna be right there.
Yeah.
Look, I appreciate y'all. We're gonna do this again. For those of you who are watching the replay, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. We're gonna do this again. Like I said, I just wanted to introduce the conversation, because I believe that as Afrocentric people, that we have to start having open and honest dialogue with each other if we want to start at healing at some point. If you're not seeking professional help or whatnot, I'm definitely going to have some people. You can always DM me, and I can refer you to some people. I have a lot of professional people on my page, but I think the first step into seeking that healing is having these type of conversations, not in a way that we're insulting or pointing fingers at each other, but we're having fun with being honest and open with each other, and being able to at least laugh and enjoy each other on a platform while sharing information and things that we've gone through. But again, I want to say I appreciate y'all. I love y'all, and I appreciate y'all having you
appreciate
on to the conversation.
Now, I applaud your consistency too, because you've been in there for a minute. I applaud you.
I'm trying to.
You're doing it. Stop. Take that word out of your vocabulary.
Look, hey, thank you. I'm doing it. But I'll be in touch with y'all. All right, love y'all.
Love you. Talk.